Designing a board game is a creative activity that blends art, strategy, and business. You're not just inventing a fun pastime, you're crafting a world for players to explore, creating challenges to overcome, and making a tangible product to bring into the real world. But beyond that initial idea lies a complex process of refining gameplay, building a community, managing production, and launching successfully on platforms like Kickstarter. Whether this is your first design or your next big project, this guide is going to walk you through everything from concept to crowdfunding launch and beyond. Plus, if you stick around to the end, I'll give you a free audio copy of our book, Crowdfunded. This book covers everything about our proven strategy that's taken campaigns from just an idea to fully funded on Kickstarter. And throughout this whole process, we'll highlight examples of people who have done it right, games that embody strong design and smart launches. Let's dive in. Step number 1, start with a strong concept. Every successful board game starts with a compelling core idea. It's a hook that grabs players' attention and it influences every design decision. This often comes from a blend of an engaging theme and unique mechanics that work seamlessly together. Parks is a great example. They capture the experience of exploring national parks by combining trail movement, seasonal progression, and resource collection in a way that mirrors a real hike. Each mechanic, like shifting weather, shared paths, and wildlife, directly supports the theme that makes gameplay feel purposeful and immersive. Wingspan is another great example. They're a tableau building game where players attract real bird species to their wildlife preserve, learning about avian biology through card play and habitat management. So what do you need to know about concept for your game? Integrate theme and mechanics deeply. Avoid things that feel tacked on. Your gameplay should reinforce the story, setting, and emotions that you're trying to evoke. Know your audience early. If you're designing for families to play, or casual gamers, or strategy enthusiasts, that's really going to affect the complexity and style of your game. Focus on clarity and uniqueness. Aim for a concept that's easy to grasp, but offers strategic depth or richness to the narrative. Research existing games. Identify gaps and opportunities in the market to position your game uniquely. Test your core concept quickly. Even a simple prototype or quick sketch can reveal if your game has potential to engage players. Step 2. Define the mechanics that bring your game to life. Mechanics are the fundamental rules and systems that create collaborations, conflicts, decisions, pacing, and ultimately the feel of your game. Mechanics are the backbone of which your theme is built. So why do mechanics matter so much? Player engagement depends on meaningful choices. Mechanics should present players with interesting decisions, trade-offs, and strategic depth. They drive pacing and tension. Well-designed mechanics control how quickly the game unfolds. It builds that excitement and suspense. And there's interaction and replayability. Mechanics influence how players interact, whether that be competitively, cooperatively, or solo. And they decide how much variety influences replayability. Are they going to want to play it over and over? Deep Madness is a great example. They use cooperative exploration and tense combat mechanics to create suspense and teamwork. The way players share information and manage resources keeps tension high. So how should you approach mechanics in your design? Identify the core player experience you want to create. Are you aiming for fast-paced excitement, deep strategy, storytelling and narrative, or casual fun? Your mechanics should support whatever you decide. Begin with a few core mechanics that work well, then layer things in. And consider your player interaction types. There's competitive, where players directly oppose each other, cooperative, where players work together towards a common goal, and solo, designed for a single player to enjoy a satisfying experience. Okay, so let's recap everything you're keeping in mind for mechanics in your game. You're considering pacing and flow. Design mechanics that control the game's rhythm. How long do turns take? When are critical moments occurring? And how does tension rise and fall? You're making sure there's meaningful decision-making. Mechanics should force players to make choices and prioritize strategy. Avoid runaway leaders or obvious best choices every time. You don't want the same strategy to be the winner if somebody picks it every game. You're keeping in mind scalability. Ensure your mechanics work well with different numbers of players. You're maintaining that balance and engagement. And we're thinking about replayability. Introduce variability through your game's elements. Things like modular boards, multiple strategies, or even evolving player powers to keep the game fresh. And think about accessibility. Craft rules and mechanics that can be learned quickly but mastered over time. This will help appeal to both new and veteran players. Test and iterate aggressively. We're going to talk more about playtesting, but it's super important. Playtesting reveals which mechanics deliver fun and which feel clunky and confusing. Be ready to scrap and tweak mechanics based on feedback. And lastly, avoid gimmicks. Gimmicks are things that don't really serve your gameplay. Mechanics should have a clear purpose always. Flashy or complicated rules that don't support the overall gameplay or experience are just going to frustrate your players. Step 3, build a prototype and break it. Creating a prototype is where your game begins to take physical form. It allows you and others to interact with your design in a tangible way. This early version does not need to look beautiful or production quality. It just needs to be playable enough to expose flaws, test mechanics, and gather feedback. So let's talk tips for prototyping. In this stage, you want to stick to using inexpensive materials. Things like index cards, dice, coins, maybe components from other games you have laying around. This is going to keep the process affordable and flexible. You're going to want to focus on core gameplay loops and mechanics rather than art and component quality right now. Try prototyping incrementally. Try testing individual mechanics before combining them. This will help identify potential conflicts and redundancies. Playtest with a wide range of players. Include friends, family, and experienced gamers. This is going to help you gather diverse feedback to make the best version of your game. And don't hesitate to break your prototype. You don't actually have to smash it, but seek out what frustrates and confuses players. These are going to be the most valuable insights for improving. And while you're doing all this, keep detailed notes. Having detailed notes on those feedback and changes that you've made is going to help you avoid repeating mistakes. Set clear goals for each playtesting session. That could be something like testing rule clarity, pacing, or balance. And whether you're with friends, family, or gamers, encourage honest feedback, even critical feedback. And while they're playing, observe players' honest reactions without interrupting. And lastly, vary player counts that you're testing with. This is going to ensure balance and fun at different player numbers. But when do you stay DIY versus moving to that manufacturer prototype? In the early stages of your game, meaning before you have all the mechanics ironed out, DIY is best. And when I say DIY, I'm talking about those materials we mentioned before, like index cards, paper clips, coins, components from other games. This approach is affordable and flexible and lets you iterate quickly. It's easy to change rules, swap parts, or scrap entire mechanics without adding a lot of costs. But when your design stabilizes, your core mechanics flow and feel solid, and you're confident enough in your component needs, that's when it's time to start calling manufacturers. And they can help you make a high-quality prototype. And if you're wondering how much this step is going to cost, we actually have a whole video on that. I'll link it in the description below. It's a lot like this video, but instead of talking about what you're gonna do at each step, it's telling you what each step is gonna cost. So if you're interested in how much it costs to design a board game, you can click in the link in the description below. But back to manufacturer prototypes. A manufacturer prototype is gonna help you test and feel the durability of cards, tokens, boards, miniatures, all of that stuff. It's also really important in assessing the aesthetic impact of your game, like the artwork, color schemes, and graphic design. And you'll be able to verify that production feasibility and figure out what manufacturing constraints you have for the vision of your game. And this is the really important thing to keep in mind, in my opinion, but you want to go to the manufacturing stage when you're ready to use your prototype for different things than just testing mechanics. Things like professional playtesting, or marketing efforts like sending it off to reviewers, photographing it, or getting assets ready for your crowdfunding campaign page. Remember, you're not mass producing, you're just getting a single unit prototype, and that can be used for a number of things related to launching your campaign, getting people's eyes on it, and having people fall in love with it. You definitely don't want to do this too early while you're still working out mechanics, but you don't want to be too late either. Getting in touch with a manufacturer early is going to help you figure out what's feasible, what it's going to cost, and get you something tangible that you can work with to create marketing assets. So whether you're working with a DIY prototype or a manufactured prototype, where do you playtest? Step 4, playtest, iterate, balance. Once you prototype your game, it's time to stress test it. And you're gonna do this through structured, consistent playtesting. Playtesting and prototyping kind of go hand in hand, so there's a little bit of overlap. This is the most crucial phase for refining gameplay, uncovering hidden flaws, and elevating your design from interesting to great. Playtesting not only helps you refine the mechanics, but gives you a clear vision for your game's emotional arc. You'll be able to figure out exactly when players are confused, bored, excited, or surprised. This phase should be messy. Expect things to break, rules to get rewritten, and mechanics to evolve. That's not failure, it's design in action. So what are the types of playtesting? There's internal testing. That's like you and your team playing the game yourselves. And you want to do this early and often. This is when you're testing rough ideas. It helps identify problems before you bring it to outside voices. Then there's controlled testing. This involves playing with hand-picked players. This is often game designers, hobbyists, or people in your target demographic. This uncovers issues with balance, pacing, mechanics, all in a low-stakes setting. And then there's blind playtesting. And it's the gold standard. You're giving your game and rulebook to people who have never seen or heard of it before, and you're observing how they learn and play without your assistance. And this is gonna show whether or not your rules make sense, and if your UI communicates well on its own. So where and how do you playtest? Playtesting is the lifeblood of development, And as I mentioned before, it's gonna happen throughout that prototyping journey. There's in-person playtests, which could be at a local game cafe with friends and family at your home or at a game convention. Or there's remote playtesting. You can use online platforms like Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator. These allow you to host the game, and you can use a tool like Discord to control the session. If you're not able to get somewhere in person or really get objective blind playtesters near you, this could be a great alternative. And there are lots of organized bigger events and conventions. If you can get out to one of these are another one of those gold star, gold standard places to test your game. They have people looking to break your game and expose your game to a wide variety of player types. And remember, your prototyping is influencing your playtesting, so your goals are gonna go hand in hand. You're looking for rule confusion, downtime and boredom, overpowered or underpowered strategies, player engagement, and that first-time clarity. And don't forget about those best practices. You're preparing clear goals, encouraging honest feedback, you're observing without interrupting, you're keeping detailed notes, you're iterating quickly, you're varying player counts, and you're gonna test with your target audience, and rinse and repeat. And there are tons of tools you can use while testing to make this process a little easier for you. Write down your targeted questions ahead of time. Ask them what part of the games felt slow or confusing, or gather feedback on if they were engaged with the types of decisions they had to make. There are lots of digital platforms like PlaytestKit or even Google Forms can be helpful in organizing your results. You should also maintain a change log. This is a running document where you can note those tweaks. You can say what prompted them and how they affected gameplay. This helps you avoid repeating past mistakes and helps you show how far you've come.
Hover is a game in progress that's a great example of the playtesting process at work. Victor has taken his game to several conventions and to gatherings with friends and family, which caused him to change some of the aesthetics and even core mechanics of his game. Since he stayed in that DIY phase, he's been able to act quickly and iterate on those changes before going fully to a manufacturer.
So when are you done testing? Unfortunately, none of us really ever hit perfect. But you will start to notice diminishing returns. When the feedback becomes repetitive, the gameplay feels consistent, and players seem like they're enjoying the full experience without confusion, you've likely reached your final iteration. Then, and only then, are you ready to move on. And you're moving on then to artwork, final production planning, and launch planning. Step 5, we're finalizing your design and visual identity. The gameplay works. Now we're shifting gears from how it plays to how it feels and looks. Because let's be honest, the difference between a functional prototype and a game that people back often comes down to presentation. Your game has to feel like a polished product. That means working with artists, graphic designers, production experts to build a visual identity that matches what you've created. And now let's break that down through these 3 design pillars for your board game design. First is illustration and world building. Artwork gives your game an emotional hook. Whether you're creating cozy dragons, a brutal sci-fi world, or a cozy woodland village, the art sets the tone before anyone even opens the rulebook. When it comes to illustration and world building, here are 3 big tips. Hire artists with board game experience if possible. They understand how to balance detail with usability, which is an important skill. 2, aim for consistency. Mixed styles or having polished art next to unfinished sketches can really break immersion. Be aware of other games out there. Your art is a chance to develop your identity and tell your story. Make sure that you're not presenting too close to something that already exists. The second pillar is graphic design and layout. If your illustration is the car's color, the graphic design is the engine. It makes the game actually playable. One way to think about it is that good design should disappear. Icons, symbols, cards, and layouts should feel intuitive and easy to navigate. And you should test that. Test everything with design. Even minor choices like icon placement or font size can affect playability. And use those layout tools intentionally. Things like color coding, typographic hierarchy, or spacing can go a long way in preventing visual overload. And that third pillar, component design. This is everything physical. Cards, boards, player mats, tokens, minifigures, even your box. And when thinking about component design, think about these 3 things. Think practically. What material should each piece be? Does it need to be cardboard, wood, plastic? Will it fit in the box? Can players set it up quickly? Pay attention to the table presence. Your game should look great and laid out on the table. That's a huge factor for first impressions and backer appeal. And don't forget to design for durability. The components that people touch the most need to hold up over time. So where do you find these artists, designers, and specialists? You don't need an industry Rolodex to find great creatives. There are tons of talented artists and designers that work in the board game industry. You just need to know where to look. For artists and illustrators, I recommend looking at places like ArtStation. It's amazing for high-end fantasy sci-fi art, or DeviantArt. This is still a huge resource for illustrators of all styles. Board game Facebook groups are another good place to check out, like Board Game Design Lab community, where people often share artist recommendations. There's always Reddit. Subreddits like r/boardgames and r/freelance are great places to post a call for portfolios. And Instagram is another place to go searching. Look for hashtags like #boardgameart or #tabletopillustrator to find active working artists. And when it comes to graphic designers, there's some other places to go looking. Try Behance. You can filter for print or UX designers with board game experience. There's also the GameCrafter design directory. Even if you're not printing with them, their freelancer list is solid. Doodle Meeple or design discords are also great for finding people already in the space. And what about things like component and packaging experts? I definitely recommend asking your manufacturer here. They often have freelancers they work with or can recommend for packaging and component design. You can also study previous Kickstarters, look at campaigns you admire, and see who did their layout. And for any of these roles, there's also commission platforms. Places like Upwork. This could be good for long-term collaboration or one-off niche expertise. Then there's Fiverr. People report a little bit more of a hit or miss experience here, but some talented folks are on there who specialize in board games. And like I mentioned before, Doodle Meeple. This is specifically built to connect tabletop creators with freelancers. Working with artists is its own world. Here are some tips that I have to navigate it successfully for your board game design. Start early, but not too early. You don't want to pay for final art before your mechanics are locked in. Always try to see print-ready samples, not just digital art. Something that looks amazing on screen just might not translate the same on a 1.5 by card or a token. Create a detailed brief. Share your theme, tone, visual references, and requests for each asset. Use contracts. Clearly outline payment, timeline, revisions, and rights. Credit your artist publicly. Some backers will support your game just because they love the art. Show respect to the talent. Let's take a look back at Parks. They nailed its first impression because of the visuals. Its artwork is one of the main reasons it got noticed and got back. And again, Wingspan paired beautifully detailed hand-drawn bird illustrations with clean, easy-to-read cards. It hit that rare balance of educational and elegant. And just like I had tips for what to do, here are some things that I would avoid when it comes to the art section of designing your board game. Don't wait too long to move beyond placeholder art. If your campaign still has rough assets too close to launch, it can kill momentum. Don't overcomplicate your visuals. Clarity always wins. If the art is beautiful, but the players can't figure out what's going on, that's a problem. Don't just hire an illustrator and skip the graphic design. Both are so important. You need layout expertise as much as you need great visuals. That was a big section, but I have just one last pro tip on art. Use your art for marketing. Your illustrations aren't just there to make your game pretty. They're also your biggest marketing asset. If your art can turn heads on social media, stop the scroll, or make people stop and go wow at a convention, you're already winning. Great visuals sell your game before anybody knows how it works. All right, we're on step 6, handling business and legal foundations. I know. But before we do marketing or crowdfunding, we gotta take care of the unsexy stuff. That stuff being your business and legal setup. Board game design is creative, no doubt, but it's also a business. And without proper structure in place, you're opening yourself up to risks. Risks like losing control of your IP, or opening yourself up to tax issues, or accidentally screwing up a contract with somebody you hired. Getting these foundations in place early will make everything that comes later, like your Kickstarter, production, and fulfillment, go way smoother. Think of it like this: you wouldn't build a house without a foundation. Same goes here. If you treat your game like a real business from the start, it's gonna help you do a bunch of things, like protecting your personal finances, avoiding misunderstandings with collaborators. It's gonna make you look way more professional to partners and backers, and make tax season way less painful. Let's break down the 5 main areas you need to cover. Step 1, form your business entity. A lot of creators start out as sole proprietors, and that's fine. Forming your business entity helps with liability protection. This keeps your personal assets safe if your business runs into trouble. It's a cornerstone of professionalism. People are more likely to take you seriously if you're a real company. And there's tax benefits. LLCs allow pass-through taxation and can make bookkeeping way simpler. Remember, we keep referencing Parks. They definitely formed an LLC before launching. That definitely made it easier for them to handle contracts with less risk and more peace of mind. Number 2, manage your budget and finances. You must have a detailed budget, not just a ballpark guess. Your numbers should cover manufacturing, including minimum order quantities and freight, art and graphic design costs, marketing and ad spend, platform fees, contingency funds, and even a little bit more. If you want a deeper dive on costs, including every single category you should be thinking about and exactly what to estimate and budget for those categories, we actually already made a video on that. Check out our how much it costs to make a board game video. Also, just like there are tools and softwares to help with notes on playtesting, there are tons of tools and softwares out there to help you with accounting and bookkeeping. Some good ones to track expenses are QuickBooks or Wave. And another good tip in this category is to open a separate business banking account to keep everything separate. Number 3, protect your intellectual property, or your IP. Your game's name, logo, artwork, even maybe the rulebook could all be protectable, but only if you handle it properly. When it comes to IP, there's a few things to keep in mind. There's trademarks, registering your name and logo to keep others from using them, Copyrights. These automatically protect written and visual materials, but registering them gives you stronger legal ground. And then there's trade secrets. Use things like NDAs or non-disclosure agreements when sharing your design documents with freelancers or manufacturers. For example, the creators of Flamecraft registered their trademark early. That helped them secure their brand and avoid legal issues once their Kickstarter started gaining traction. Number 4, use clear and concise agreements. Anytime you hire someone, an artist, a designer, a consultant, get it in writing. Your contract should include things like payment terms, deliverables, deadlines, rights ownership, who owns what after the work is done, clauses for revisions, cancellations, and disputes, and potentially NDAs to keep private info private. Don't rely on DMs or casual emails. Misunderstandings can lead to costly disputes, or worse, loss of ownership over your game and its assets. Number 5, understand your legal obligation to backers. If you're crowdfunding, you're running a business. You're selling a product, not collecting donations. That means you have legal responsibilities. You are required to deliver on what you promise or offer refunds. You have to follow consumer protection laws, especially if you're shipping overseas. You need to communicate transparently with your backers through all steps of the campaign. And if you're unsure about those obligations, consult a lawyer before you launch. If that sounds overwhelming, don't worry. There are tons of experts in this field. For mentorship or general accounting, there's lots of bookkeepers out there who are super familiar with Kickstarter. And for legal advice, there are experts in this field. People like Noah Downs, who work with Fantasy Flight, Ledger Games, and the Legends of Evantris team, or Zach Strebeck, who's known for helping Stonemaier, WizKids, and Plaid Hat. Both of these specialize in board game IP, contracts, and crowdfunding law. And my pro tip for this category is start small and scale when you're ready. You don't have to do all of this up front. You can start with the basics, like getting your LLC and business bank account set up, and then you can grow from there, like working with an expert to figure out what those contracts for freelancers should look like, or when to file your trademark. The key is to protect yourself enough to avoid big risks. Okay, we're on step 7 of designing your board game, which is building your community and your marketing engine. You've got your game, the mechanics work, the prototype's been tested, you've got an artist, an illustrator, a designer, you're getting your legal things in place. But how do you get the game out there? This is the part that really determines whether your Kickstarter is a smash hit or a ghost town. You need a community and a marketing engine that gets people excited to back your game before it even launches. The truth is, even the best designed game in the world could totally flop if nobody hears about it. Marketing isn't just about running random Facebook ads or shouting into the void on Twitter. It's about creating real connections, building buzz early, and showing people why your game is worth backing. And by worth backing, I mean worth their time and money. And for step 7, I have 7 pieces of marketing advice. Number 1, start building early. Seriously, start months before your campaign goes live. Not days, not weeks, months. Post regularly on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X. Share development progress like sketches, playtest photos, art reveals, anything that brings people behind the scenes. Set up a landing page where fans can sign up for email updates. This becomes your launch list. Get involved in community. Join Reddit threads, Board Game Geek forums, and Discord servers, not to just self-promote, but to actually contribute. Flamecraft is another great example of this. They put their beautiful artwork and gameplay previews on their Instagram long before their launch. That steady drip of content helped them build an eager, invested audience. Number 2, email marketing is your most valuable tool. If social media disappeared tomorrow, would you still be able to reach your fans? Tools like MailChimp can help you collect emails and send updates. Email can also help you share exclusive stuff like behind the scenes looks, printable content, sneak peeks, and early access to demos. Email consistently converts better than social media, especially for Kickstarter. Number 3, organic social media content. Email is important, but social media still has its place. This is about connection, not conversion. You want to build trust and let people into your world. Share your journey, what you're testing, what you're struggling with, what's going great. Highlight community moments. Share a playtesting session or repost fan art. Respond to comments, ask questions, be a human, not a brand. And try using relevant hashtags to expand your reach. Number 4, paid advertising that is targeted and measured. Once you've got some traction, paid ads can help you expand your reach. But start small and stay smart. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Google Ads let you target gamers who've backed similar campaigns. Test different headlines, images, and calls to action. Learn what works. Watch your results, your click-through rate, your conversion rate, your cost per lead, and tweak as needed. And then use retargeting to stay top of mind with people who visited your website or watched your content. Botany is a great example of this. They made an initial investment on their paid ads, and then everything they made off those ads, they put back in, leading to an over $1 million campaign. Number 5, leverage influencers and content creators. Reviewers, podcasters, YouTubers, TikTokers, they can all help you reach an audience that you don't have yet. Reach out early with a prototype and a rulebook. Let them preview. Offer exclusive interviews, demo sessions, or giveaway codes. Build real relationships. The best creators aren't just selling your product, they're telling your story. This is another thing that Parks nailed. They got early coverage from top reviewers like Shut Up and Sit Down. That exposure introduced the game to a massive engaged audience at just the right time. Number 6, in-person marketing. Connect face-to-face. Online is powerful, but face-to-face is still important. Attend conventions like Gen Con, PAX Unplugged, or Essen Spiel to demo your game. Partner with local game stores or host play nights to preview events. And show up at your local board game groups or meetups. Aaron from Seabeast is a great example of this in action. He attended conventions like Gen Con and hosted playtest sessions where people got to fall in love with his game before he ever hit launch on Kickstarter. Number 7, create a marketing timeline and budget. Do not wing it, you'll run out of money. Create a calendar of content from teaser posts to countdowns. Plan your ad spend, start small and scale what works. Set community goals like how many email signups you want or how many playtesters or followers. There are great tools like Trello or Notion or even just a Google Sheet to help keep all of this organized. And my marketing pro tip? Treat your email list like gold. Those names and emails, they're not just data points. Those are your future backers. Keep them warm with regular updates, art reveals, campaign countdowns, and playtest invite. Even an email list of 1,000 people can outperform a massive social media audience if they're engaged and excited. And if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed with this part, you can always bring in experts to help. There are marketing consultancies like my team at Launchboom that specialize in helping you get this just right for your tabletop game. They can help you fine-tune that strategy, build your list of superfans, and hit launch day strong. Okay, marketing was a big one, but now we're on step 8 of how to design your board game, which is choosing the right crowdfunding platform. This could be one of the most strategic decisions of your entire campaign. Where should you actually launch? If you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of this decision, Mark Pacoda, the CEO of Launchboom, and I made a video on just that. How do you choose the right platform for your game? We went through everything from gameplay, budget, audience, all of that stuff, and the pros and cons of each platform. You can find that video linked below. Choosing where to launch your game matters a lot. The platform doesn't just affect how much money you raise, it also shapes who sees your game. It can affect how you manage pledges, who discovers you, what options you have for fulfillment and distribution. Can you add stretch goals, and how do you communicate afterwards? The big 3 are Kickstarter, BackerKit, and Gamefound. Each one has pros and cons, and the best one really depends on your game, your goals, your audience, and your team's capability. So let's walk through them one by one. Kickstarter is still the king of the hill when it comes to tabletop crowdfunding. If your goal is to reach the largest possible audience, this is probably your go-to. People love Kickstarter because it has a massive built-in audience of board game backers. It has great organic discovery. There's trending pages, categories, tags, staff picks, all working in your favor. It's well known among press, reviewers, YouTubers. If you're launching big, this is where people expect to see you. Now, there are some things to watch out for when it comes to Kickstarter. It's crowded. A lot of games launch here every month. So having a solid audience ahead of time will keep you from getting lost in all the noise. The built-in tools are fine, but not amazing. Most creators use BackerKit or something similar to manage pledges after the campaign. Games like Flamecraft, Seabeast, Botany all launched on Kickstarter and had mega successful launches. All right, let's talk BackerKit. BackerKit used to be the go-to for post-Kickstarter for things like pledge management and surveys, but now it's a fully featured crowdfunding platform in its own right. People like BackerKit for its advanced tools for managing pledges, add-ons, fulfillment, and updates all in one place. It has strong creator support and a smooth backend. Everything's built around making the logistics easier post-campaign, but there are some things to keep in mind. It definitely has a much smaller organic reach than Kickstarter. It's growing, but it still leaves a lot to be desired. A lot of reviewers and media folks still focus more on Kickstarter and even Gamefound more so than BackerKit, so it's not necessarily helpful when it comes to that discoverability. But a lot of people do launch on BackerKit and launch successfully.
Red Tides is a perfect example. They took their game about sinking ships, seizing power, and charting your legend on the high seas to BackerKit, and then raised $137,727.
And last but definitely not least is Gamefound. This one is purpose-built just for board games and hobby products, and it's growing fast. It's become a top choice for creators with complex, component-heavy games. People like Gamefound for its built-in pledge manager, stretch goal system, shipping calculators. It's all native, no plugins needed. It's tailored to games with miniatures, modular expansions, and lots of SKUs. It has strong back-end tools for localization, fulfillment logic, and multi-language campaigns. And like Kickstarter and BackerKit, it has its drawbacks. Discoverability is still evolving. You need solid marketing to drive traffic. The campaigns that do the best on Gamefound typically have very large audiences outside of the platform. It's also less flexible in terms of page design compared to Kickstarter. But ISS Vanguard by Awakened Realms raised millions here. They used Gamefound's specialized backend to juggle the complex pledge tiers and multiple languages with ease. So which one should you choose? There's no one-size-fits-all answer, it depends on your goals. You should choose Kickstarter if you want max visibility and to tap into the biggest organic audience, you're aiming for broad tabletop appeal and press coverage, you're okay using a third-party pledge manager after your campaign. Choose BackerKit if you already have an audience and want the best campaign tools. You're focused on seamless fulfillment, add-ons, and backer management. You care a lot about back-end logistics and making life easier for your team. Choose Gamefound if your game has a lot of components, miniatures, or complex pledge tiers. You want everything in one platform, campaign, pledge manager, and fulfillment, and you're targeting a core hobbyist gamer crowd, and you have a lot of experience running campaigns or an already very established audience. And as a pro tip, there are a lot of pros and cons to the different platforms, but in general, if you're a new creator and looking for the largest reach, Kickstarter is probably gonna be your best bet. Again, you can check more on the video that we did as a deep dive to hear why that is, or if not, what might be specific to you that makes Gamefound or BackerKit a better choice. The best way to make the decision is not just to study the platforms, but study the games that launched on them. What looks more like you and the audience that you have? This has been a lot, but now we're on step 9, preparing for production and manufacturing. Your game is tested, refined, you have a community, you have a plan for crowdfunding. Now it's time for your biggest leap of all, turning that prototype into a real manufactured product. This step is really exciting, but also one of the most complex and risk-prone parts of the journey. You're dealing with manufacturers, timelines, budgets, logistics, and mistakes here can get expensive fast. So let's walk through how to do it right. First, how do you even choose the right manufacturer? The board game manufacturing world is fairly tight-knit. There aren't hundreds of options, but there are a handful of trusted players. And they've been delivering high-quality games for years. Let's walk through some of the most widely used. There's Longpack Games in China, which is a favorite for Kickstarter. Whether you're doing standard components or fancier upgrades, they're solid. There's Panda Game Manufacturing, a go-to for deluxe and art-forward games. They've produced hits like Wingspan and Flamecraft, and they offer support beyond just printing, like helping with packaging and layout. And then there's What's Games. They're great for small to mid-sized publishers. They have competitive pricing, and they're used by a lot of creators scaling up from their first launch. So what do you look for in a manufacturer? This is where you get picky. Here's what you really want and need. A responsive sales rep who communicates clearly and regularly. A proven track record with crowdfunding titles. Willingness to send pre-production samples and white box proofs. Clear and detailed pricing quotes with options for upgrades and additions. Pro tip here, always ask for samples of similar components before you commit. Next, finalize your game specs. Before anything goes into production, your specs need to be locked. And here's what that includes. A full component list, like cards, boards, tokens, mats, rulebooks, inserts. Exact sizing, card dimensions, like 63 by 88 millimeters, token diameters, box sizes, chosen materials, chipboard versus plastic, wood tokens versus punch boards, any finishes, linen texture, foil stamping, UV gloss, embossing, all of these impact price and feel. And then your final packaging design, box art, die lines, rulebook layout, etc. You'll also want to build a bill of materials, a master checklist of every component and spec. This is what your manufacturer will use to quote costs and plan production. And another pro tip, it's really tempting to add custom TIDs and bits and premium upgrades, but too many unique components are going to balloon your costs and delay your timelines. Prioritize what actually improves gameplay. Understand your minimum order quantities, your MOQs, and the costs. Most manufacturers require a minimum run of 500 to 1,500 units. And here's the thing, your cost per unit decreases as your order size increases. So a game that costs $12 per unit at 1,000 units might drop to $650 per unit at 5,000 units. But then you would have to store all those extra games, which is costly in itself. So you want to be ordering the right amount. Plan on ordering enough to meet demand, and maybe 10 to 15% extra to cover replacements, damaged items, or retail samples. And again, that video that I talked about how much it costs to make a board game, we dove into all of the manufacturing costs there and what you can expect at every step of the process. An important part of the manufacturing process is to plan your timeline carefully. Game production is not overnight. It is a multi-month process. And that's even after your files are submitted. Here's a typical breakdown. Your digital proofing is going to take 1 to 2 weeks. That's PDFs of all components for review. Any pre-production samples, add another 2 to 3 weeks. These are your test versions to check materials for color, accuracy, and finishes. And then we get to mass production. That's 6 to 10 weeks. The full print run gets made here. And then we have freight and fulfillment, 4 to 12 weeks. Shipping containers, customs, and delivery to distribution hubs. Make sure you build in buffer time. Delays happen, especially around Lunar New Year, and there can also be port congestion or material shortages. The next thing is to maintain quality control. Even the best manufacturers make mistakes. It's your job to catch them before 5,000 units get made. Review every proof carefully. Colors, grammar, layout, measurements. Ask for production photos and progress updates. And don't sign off on mass production until you've held a final sample in hand. Consider hiring a QC partner or freelancer in China to inspect on site. Some creators do this to catch errors before freight starts. Wingspan is a great example of where their success was not just mechanics, but also in the manufacturing. It had amazing component quality, custom egg tokens, insert fitted boxes, high-grade cards, planned to help make sure nothing felt cheap or rushed. And now, what do you avoid with manufacturing? Don't finalize files too early before you've locked in rules or playtested thoroughly. Don't think shipping is a later problem. What you choose in manufacturing, the weight, size, dimension, is all going to affect your cost for fulfillment. Speaking of fulfillment, that's our next category. Step 10, delivering and fulfilling smoothly. You've done so much work up to this point when it comes to prototyping, playtesting, marketing, manufacturing, but one of the toughest parts is still ahead, and that's fulfillment. Fulfillment means getting your games from the factory into your backers' hands. And it's way more than just shipping. You've got freight, customs, warehouse fees, taxes, all of that stuff. If something goes sideways here, it can eat up profits and damage reputations. This step is all about setting clear expectations, picking the right partners, and staying in constant communication with your backers. Let's break fulfillment into 2 stages. There's freight shipping, aka getting it out of the factory. This is the journey from your factory, usually in China, to warehouses around the world. Ocean freight is the most common method. It's slower, about 4 to 8 weeks, but it's much more affordable than air freight. You'll need a freight forwarding partner here. They handle pickup, customs paperwork, and delivery to regional warehouses. There are lots of freight partners like ShipQuest, FlowShip, and EasyShip that can help with all different parts of this journey. And there are lots of things to budget for. Not to keep mentioning our cost video, but this is in there too. But some things you can definitely plan for, things like container fees, which depend on volume and current market rates. Port fees and drayage, like unloading containers and transporting them to the warehouse. There's customs and brokerage fees, which are professionals handling important paperwork. And then there's imports, taxes, tariffs, and these vary by country and declared value. And there's also freight insurance. This protects against damage or loss during transit. These costs can really fluctuate, so budget conservatively. And keep an eye on some of those more fluctuating fees as your campaign approaches. And then there's final fulfillment, aka getting your game to backers. Once your game arrives at regional hubs, fulfillment centers take over. They handle last mile shipping, picking and packing, labeling, and sending orders out. There are lots of fulfillment centers in this category, like Quartermaster Logistics, GameQuest, or Fulfillrite. And there's cost to budget for here too, of course. Costs like receiving fees for intake, counting and storing inventory, pick and pack fees, usually per backer or per item, packaging materials like mailers, tape, and inserts, domestic and international postage, which can vary by region and package size, VAT and tax compliance fees, customer service buffers for returns or replacement. And a pro tip here, it can be risky to lock yourself into a shipping fee before you know all your manufacturing SKUs and costs. A lot of creators collect shipping fees after the campaign is over using tools like BackerKit. And just like all the other categories, there are some things to avoid here. Avoid underestimating your shipping costs. Rates fluctuate, so it's super important to budget conservatively and pay attention to where they're at when you're launching. Not collecting shipping fees separately. Avoid locking in unrealistic shipping rates pre-campaign. Skipping quality checks before freight. A botched print run is way harder to fix once games are on the water. And as complicated as fulfillment can be, there are so many creators who really get it right. Like Stonemeyer Games, who created Wingspan and Scythe. They work with Quartermaster for polished and efficient fulfillment. Fulfillment is a huge job, but getting it right means getting your games into the hands of backers, which is the whole point in the first place. And the last step? Okay, you designed your game, you crowdfunded it, you got it manufactured, you fulfilled it. Only thing left to do? Run a postmortem. A postmortem is an honest, clear-eyed review of how your whole project went. That's from the start to the finish line. It's not just about celebrating wins or voicing frustrations. It's about learning what worked, what didn't, and how you can get better for your next game. If you want to build a long-term game business, this step is so important. So what do you include in a postmortem? Include what went well. Take stock of wins big and small. Did you smash your funding goal? Did you really nail a certain mechanic? Write those down. Those are the strategies and strengths you want to repeat. Okay, what didn't go well? Be Be honest, what caused stress, delays, confrontations, frustrations? Did you overbuild components, under budget shipping? Was there a communication breakdown anywhere? Pinpoint the pain points so that you can avoid them next time. Number 3, marketing and conversion data. Dive into those analytics. Which emails had the highest click rates? What was your ad ROI? Where did most of your pledges come from? Use these insights to plan stronger marketing strategies for your next campaign. Number 4, budget versus actual. Compare your original budget to what you actually ended up spending. And that's across categories: marketing, art, manufacturing, fulfillment. What did you plan on spending versus what you really spent at the end of the day? This can tell you a lot about margins and what to expect financially. Number 5, get team feedback. If you worked with collaborators, agencies, freelancers, consultancies, ask for their thoughts too. Keep it constructive and forward-looking. The better the people that you're working with feel, the better the next project will be. How do you conduct and organize a postmortem? Write it down. Don't just keep it to discussions. Make a detailed report. Share it strategically with your community. You don't have to spill every hiccup, but backers appreciate transparency. Some creators write a full write-up like a lessons learned and share it out with their community. Use your data. Don't rely on your memory alone. Use your Kickstarter analytics, your ad analytics, etc. to get the numbers you need to make a full report. Schedule it. Make this a part of your campaign project timeline. Aim to have it done within 30 to 60 days of fulfillment. That way, everything is still fresh.
Botany is a great example of this data gathering at work. Since their original campaign, they've given webinars and live talks where they spoke transparently about their numbers, how ad spend worked for them, and answer questions about what they do differently next time. They've also kept up with their Kickstarter shipping updates, and they've been running multiple successful campaigns since, showing that backers really appreciate that transparent communication.
You can also use the postmortem to set the stage for what's next. Are you developing an expansion, a sequel, or a brand new game? Will you reprint this game or push for retail distribution? Are there conventions or events you should attend to grow visibility? Do you want to turn your project into a publishing label? Leverage the momentum that you've built. That means your email list, press contacts, social followers. Take them and start sketching your next roadmap. And a pro tip here, send a post-fulfillment email to your backers. Use the data and insights from your postmortem to make them a part of your journey and keep them engaged for what you have next. And as always, what to avoid. Don't skip the postmortem entirely because you're too tired. The effort you put in here will make your next project so much smoother. Don't blame external factors without self-reflection. Shipping delays happen, totally, but what can you control next time? Don't wait too long to do it. Details get fuzzier with time. Remember, we're aiming to get this done in that 30 to 60 day time frame once things are fulfilled. And that was it. That's your final step. You've got the blueprint on how to design a board game. Now go build it. We've walked through literally every essential step, and I'll link those videos that dive even deeper on how to estimate costs and how to choose a platform below. Plus, you made it to the end. So as I promised, you can get a free digital copy of our audiobook, Crowdfunded. Crowdfunded will walk you through everything from A to Z on how to take your game from just an idea to fully funded on Kickstarter. Designing and launching a board game is a complex process. But with this roadmap, you're better equipped to navigate it confidently and avoid those common pitfalls. I can't wait to see whatever it is you design. And I'm curious, what stage are you at in the process? Let me know in the comments below.